of intelligence in this war is certainly unique in this conflict, but it accomplishes a couple things. The first is that it's going to allow the Ukrainians to react to anything that's coming through the pipeline, if you will. Any information that they receive, they could then use for their own military purposes. The other reason that it's incredibly useful is that it removes the element of surprise that the Russians really need in this offensive to throw the Ukrainians off and for them to be able to achieve the objectives that they have. But the third element that it's rather useful is that it keeps the public, especially in the West, engaged, which is a very useful thing in a developed democracy where you need the public's support for engaging in hostile activities.
Now, U.S. officials and British intel have both said that the Russian leadership may be misled on its military performance in its war in Ukraine. How has intelligence been different from this war versus others?
Sure. From the Russian perspective in general, this is more part and parcel for how the Russian military and the Russian government is set up and how it's organized. Is that it very much is going back to the Soviet days of people are afraid to give bad news to their superiors. So intelligence oftentimes gets changed, if you will, from the Russian perspective on its way up the chain of command. From the American perspective, though, in particular, I think that the Biden White House decided that as part of their strategy to try and mitigate any sort of Russian advances or at least elements of surprise and usefulness of activities, the Biden administration really thought that taking the information public would be the best course of action.
Are there any drawbacks to this approach?
It depends on the level of information that's provided. If it ends up being somewhat generic with regards to the chemical weapons usage, for example, then there aren't going to be too many drawbacks with regards to that. Any drawbacks are going to come if the information release starts getting very specific about how they're obtaining the information, which I think is one reason why, especially in news reports, we're seeing so many reports that we're gathering this information from unsecure Russian communications, which is a very important element of this offensive, if you will. The fact that the Russians cannot have secure communications is a huge detriment to them, but it's a boon, if you will, for intelligence gathering in the West.